We are live. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Bama Football on YouTube. My boy, Coach Merrill, I'm jamming all
Dude.
out for the most part, man. But but for those who don't know who we are, this is I am Coach Jay, Coach Merrill on my right, or no, to you. Well, I don't know, whatever it is.
Yeah, you gotta get used to it. If you're on that side, it's weird. I've had to really learn this shiz. Yeah, it's crazy, man. And as you guys start jumping in, super happy to see you. Say what's up in the chat. Please hit those thumbs up for us as we roll into the evening segment here on Bama Football on YouTube. Hell yeah, Bama Football on YouTube. I always love coming on the evenings. It's been a minute, Jay, since you and me been on, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I feel like it's just, well, number one, I was gone forever. Number two, though, it's like truly, I mean, we've been doing all these different little events, it feels like, and every single time, Jay, I'm like, we're like, where's Jay? Y'all see the comments, you know, with the little videos. We miss you, dude. I mean, same thing. So.
Yeah, I gotta get active. You know what I'm saying? I gotta be a little more active, especially because we're college football season like right around the corner. Everybody's coming on. So I gotta step up my game. I gotta step it up.
Oh, dude, Jay has great game. I mean, I'll tell you what, man, I love when you're on. You have like the best takes, because I mean, in the end, like I'll be Mr. Sometimes Sunshine, or what they say, is it Sunshine and Daisies or Daisies and Sunshine?
Yep, Sunshine and Daisies or Roses. Yeah,
that's me. But man, you give it real, Jay. You keep it real, and I like that. Hey, don't get me wrong. I'll cuss some shit out if I need to. Okay, like for sure. But yeah, no, that's funny, man. It's good to see you guys in here. Love it. We got the first one in tonight was C-Bama. What's going on? Then we got Roll Tide Patty. Yo. Hack of Music. What's up, my brother? Nova Speed. That's a funny comment, dude. MIA to Kevin Hart. I didn't know I was that funny, but I'm glad you think so. Good. I'm glad you're entertained. Are you not entertained? No, I'm just kidding. We'll get out of that. Michael Coleman, Corey Waldrop, my dog. Corey's a girl dad like I am, so I have a lot of respect for Corey.
Okay.
Yep, a lot of respect.
Do I count as a girl dad even though I don't really have a human daughter? Does that count?
Hey Jay, I think your camera is like cutting off halfway, my bro.
Oh, I know. Yep, hold on.
Up. You got it figured out. Up, there we go, Jay. Yep. Oh, now it's getting real low. Love it. Yeah, no, if it's a girl dog, we'll count you as a girl dad. Yeah, I mean, why not? At this point, Jay, you know, unless like what Coach Sean said last night, just gotta get your skeet on, bro.
Hey man, I'm a few years. Give me about a couple years, man. Like I said, nowadays, you got everybody listening to Sexy Red and Glorilla. I'm like, nah, I don't mind doing it, man, but I gotta choose the right one. The right one has to come.
Bro, smart decision. When it comes down to choosing the right one, that is the key to life. If you are picking a partner, you want to make sure, just like choosing the right dog. If you choose the wrong one, you're going to hate life for about 10 to 15 years, unless you live in the country and you just take them out the back. I'm just kidding. We're going to stop there. But yeah, I feel you on that, man. It's choosing the right one's important. It's just like going to school for football. Speaking of choosing the right one, for everybody who's been following the news, choose the right one. Jaden Rashada probably should have chosen the right one, right?
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
Wild story,
dude. This is getting off the chain. I mean, we were just kind of chatting about this even behind the scenes, because everybody, hey, what's up, Matt? How you doing, man? Good to see you in here. But yeah, man, everybody is talking about Jaden Rashada right now. Like, for real, this Jaden Rashada stuff, it's going to be interesting, like how it changes the game. I mean, when a player sues a coach and they're talking about all these other aspects of the lawsuit, which me and Ty somewhat discussed today. In those aspects were like the, what were they? They were the promise that was made. And then Jay, you were saying there's some other stuff in there too.
Yeah, they promised, like the dad was. They promised his dad was going to get was going to work in the security industry, and I think his mom was going to be a consultant. They again, the signing bonus was going to be somewhere like around $4 to $5 million. It's, I mean, really $9.5 million, but they were going to pay him yearly. Like they were gonna pay him a massive NIL deal, and they made all these promises, and I mean, it never really came to fruition. It never really kind of came to fruition. So I don't, man, it's crazy, but it's crazy because it didn't really start to happen until like Jaden Rashada. It was down to I forgot the other school that he was down to, but that was kind of a last minute effort that they kind of made to say, you know what, we got to get this kid here somewhere, somehow, some way. And so there's a few big companies down there in that Gainesville area that they just decided to say, you know what, we'll chip in, we'll help kind of make the offer towards them, and we'll see if we can try to get him back here. And I guess I mean, trust me, that amount of money that was on that table, and then you made all these promises saying, you know what, we'll get your parents better job opportunities so that you don't have to kind of worry about them as well. It's wild. But you know what's shocking? That's not the only time I heard something like this happen. I mean, I think for Texas A&M, and I forgot the player, but for Texas A&M, it was a very similar situation where parents were getting offered jobs, like to work in the same job as that company. And I don't know if it came into fruition or not, but this is not the only time where something regarding NIL not only affects the player, but it affects the parents as well in terms of what they do in their livelihoods. And so, yeah, none of it came to fruition, and now we kind of come to a point now where he's now suing them. And so we'll see what kind of happens here. Billy Napier can't catch a break, man. That he can't catch a break at all. I mean, he's had some of the worst scheduling that you'll ever see. The roster that he inherited after Dan Mullen was an utter mess recruiting wise. I mean, they had a good recruiting class, but then a majority of that class is in the portal. And now you have to deal with the situation like this in a year where you're probably going to get fired if you win 5 or 6 or 7 games this year. Like this is, I feel bad, but at the same time, though, I mean, dirty business. I mean, this is the danger of NIL, guys. This is the danger of it. Where, again, I don't blame these kids for signing that, for at least agreeing to the terms. But this is one of those situations where not only affects the player, it affects everybody. Now all of a sudden, the University of Florida's reputation is on the line now because kids are now looking at that and saying, okay, you promised this kid this much amount of money and you weren't able to deliver. How do I expect you to deliver for me? And so this is not looking good at all for the University of Florida.
No, man. It to me, man, it's just so damn, it's disappointing. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's disappointing. Here's the deal. Like, I'm going to turn this down a little bit, hopefully, so you guys can hear us chit chat about this, because we'll probably get into some details on this. And if you're deaf like me, I got to be able to hear and blah, blah, blah. If you guys want the music up, you want it down, let me know. Throw it out in a comment and give us a thumbs up.
I'm sorry, Coach Merrill. It was $13.85 million. I stand corrected. So just throwing in $4 million. And apparently,
13.5. That's what
Hatchcock and Castro Walker, they offered $13.85 million deal with $5.35 million, including a $500,000 signing bonus, to come through Hitchcock's Facility Automotive Company, and the rest through Gator Guard and the NL Collective that he started. Hitchcock had previously committed to donating $12.6 million to the Gators boosters, and early media reports stated that the Gator Guard raised $5 million in its first 24 hours. But I guess pretty much after that, it just went, I don't know, it went south. So I don't know. I don't know what's really going on here, but it's not looking good at all for them.
I don't know, man. I mean, you want to talk about a way to screw your program, like, because these guys are big, boosters, right, for the program. Like, these guys, if I'm correct, they donate quite a bit, and man, it's not the way to donate. And Buck, what it do, my brother. And Patriot Life, what up, dog? Patriot Life, always good to see you in here. Baller Man, what's going on? Rocket Town. Baller Man, you make some good stuff, man. Man, these offers happen every year, every day. They just don't get reported, period. No, I mean, I think you're spot on. It happens all the time. There's dealings going on all the time. We've heard about this for a very long time. You can read Ray Lewis's book, and he talks about that in his, man, when he's going to Miami, like, real talk. I mean, when he's at Miami, I mean, the documentaries talk about the players at Miami and what was going on. And good evening, Rocket Town. Good to see you too, my bro. So, Yeah, it's disappointing because I also hate the fact, man. I hate the fact I like Billy Napier. Okay, I like Billy Napier as a human. I think he has his mind's in the right place. I think I don't know what's going to come to fruition with these promises within the text messages that me and Ty talked about earlier today. If you need to catch us, you can rewatch that earlier episode here on Bama Football on YouTube when we're done here. You know, check it out. Run a thumbs up for us on both of them. But yeah, we talked a little bit about that, and Ty had said, "No, like Napier had promised that." Now we'll see. Josh Pate was bringing this up on his show tonight, right? And he's bringing up the fact the same thing. Like, how much of it can you actually like prove, though? Like this is written in the document, fair enough. It's all said in what the civil lawsuit is saying, but how much really can you prove? And that's going to be the key in all of this. You know, coming from the land of law, where I came from previously, granted, which I'm not handling, well, I take that back. I handled some civil stuff when I was in law enforcement. I'll be honest with you. But coming from a little bit of just a little understanding, there's a lot of little bits and pieces that go in, especially in a lawsuit like this, that make it to have to make it stick, right? To get it to really stick. Now, we've been hearing about this since it happened a long time ago. You know what I'm saying, Coach? This is prior to this last season during the recruiting process. Now, did I think Jaden Rashada was that good? No. That's where I'm like, whoa, why didn't you go after some other dude who was a baller? Like, why didn't you go after like a quarterback that was actually worth that money, maybe, if there was one? I don't know how many high school kids I would just go and give that money to. Do you? I mean, could you name one that you'd be like, hey, man, I'm going to put all this money on you? I mean,
nope. There's not.
I don't know, man.
There's not one. There's not. No, I'm not doing that. Unless, like, this has got to be the greatest quarterback ever, the greatest high school prospect ever. Like, this is a guaranteed day one starter, Heisman impact. Like, when you're offering somebody that much money, you are guaranteeing that dude plays not only his freshman year, you're guaranteeing that dude's going to be a All-American caliber player as a freshman, right?
Yeah.
You know, maybe, you know, I'm trying to think of some freshmen, like some true freshmen. You know, like Trevor Lawrence. You know, it's I can't even really describe it, because it's like that 13, almost $14 million. And then with all these NIL incentives, including the $500,000 bonus. I think there was, and again, I'm gonna have to kind of read it. So this is not a follow quote, but I think there was a house that was going to be incorporated into it as well. I mean, it's just like, it's insane, man. And then you got the Gator Automotive Company, and then you have Hatchcock's company that tried to go into it. They couldn't really make the NIL payments to the boosters because again, they got the $5 million, but they didn't pay the rest of it off. And so it seemed like this thing was they were trying to make this thing happen, right? It wasn't. I don't think it was one of those situations where they said, okay, you know what, we'll give you $13 million, and then they didn't make an effort to try to deliver on it. I think that they tried to do it, and I think they realized, no, we don't have enough money we don't really have enough for this, and so they kind of maybe backed out at the last possible second, or maybe they just I would say they kind of backed out in the last possible second, and then they still, and I think at that time, that's when Jaden Rashada had already commit. I think that, you know, because he does have his agent, right? He does, like, he has his agent. I think his family would definitely have, will definitely kind of, you know, be into the fold of things. So I would assume that Rashada knew that they were trying to work it out, hence why he still made his commitment to Florida. And, you know, when he was already committed there and signed there, he found out that, no, they're not making the effort to do it. You know, they might have backed out at the last possible second because they realized, this is a little bit too much, or, you know, this is just not enough for the NIL collective, or one of our partners. Well, I forgot. I think it was either Hatchcock didn't really make the effort to put in the rest of the money in there. That's when he decided to back out, which is crazy. Because if Jaden Rashada would have got, let's say, $2 or $3 million, I mean, you know, that any quarterback in the country would take that money. Anybody would take that amount of money. But no, he wanted his money in full. He wanted all these promises, man, and he didn't deliver it. He didn't get it, and, you know, he ended up, you know, transferring and going somewhere else. But now I think what's kind of crazy is that he waited about a year to make the lawsuit.
Yeah.
I thought he would have done this a lot more quicker, but yeah, this is
Interesting.
if there's
Love you too, bro. Hold on real quick.
go ahead.
Yo, I just want to give a quick shout out to Coach Smook. A lot of love. We've been jumping back and forth. There's always,
Yes,
I gotta
sir.
say this real fast, like so everybody understands. It's better to be like continuously build each other to help each other all continuously build up. I'm gonna just put that out there. I think in the end of the day, I love it, man. I love you, Coach Smook. You know that we all want the best and the success for you, and I know you're killing it, and I know you're doing a good job, and we all
Mhm.
been jumping on all sorts of different places, all joining up. And much love to you, my brother. Much love to you, my bro. Get some rest, dude. But no, man, straight up, like getting back into what you were saying, Jay. What you were saying, Jay, is it does all these freaking promises, man. Like, well, and here's the thing with
Mhm.
Florida too. This is an interesting thing with Florida. Like Florida, it's not like you are. It's not like you're Vanderbilt. Okay. I'm trying to think of another school, even South Carolina, and I'm not trying to dig on South Carolina or anything like that. That's not where I'm going at. But if that would happen at those two schools, would it be that big of a deal? That's the question. Like, let's say these two schools, South Carolina, is still a good football school. I have a lot of respect for Shane Beamer. And I mean, I think their name's weird. The Gamecocks. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't even know what a Gamecock is. It's like a vole. What's a vole? You know what I'm saying?
Is that a rooster?
Uh,
I'm just throwing out. I'm just throwing out
yeah, I
names.
think so. Maybe it is a rooster. That's cool. Hey, good for you, man. I mean, but I have a lot of respect though for Shane Beamer and what he's doing. But if it would happen there, would this still be such a huge, giant, big deal? See, Florida is still like relevant in everyone's mind. Florida it continuously sticks at different points of history within the SEC, right? There are points of history where Florida just boop, pops into the picture and all of a sudden becomes, this pretty relevant again, and then they stay relevant and they continue to be talked about, right? Okay, thanks, Matt. It's a fighting rooster. I mean, I guess you can't be called the Roosters, but I am saying from the standpoint, you have this coach who comes in who's been successful, and I'll tell you this, man, from this aspect of these guys in the collective and these boosters, this could turn out really bad. So what if what happens with Jaden Rashada, right? At Arizona State, he gets hurt. Okay, his Arizona State, like pretty early on, if I'm correct. I think he gets hurt in game 3, right, Coach Jay? Was it game 3 or 4 where Rashada got hurt at Arizona State?
I think so. Might have been.
Yeah.
I think it might have been game 5. It's one of those early games.
But I mean, what if he goes to Florida, he gets hurt, and now like Mertz doesn't get the experience that he got, who ended up having a pretty decent season on his end, right? Like he comes in and now he's just tanking it, and Florida's even worse off than they already were, right? And then maybe Rashada goes through, or maybe he wants to transfer. It just there's, and I don't know the back. Maybe there's some written rules within whatever he's signing for this money house, is all the job stuff. I don't know, but the facts are this is never a good idea. You never want to put a new coach in a position like this, number one. Number two, this is poorly managed. Number three, no kid coming out of high school is worth this amount of money. I'm sorry. I don't care who you are. I cannot name a kid who's worth
unless you're LeBron James.
Well, shit, maybe I don't even think LeBron James yet was there, Like he was good. Don't get me wrong. LeBron maybe, but 13.5? Is that what you said? 13.5?
Yeah,
right?
13.5, and it's crazy because I think I think the Gator put their half of the money in. It was just that Hatchcock didn't do it. Hatchcock didn't fulfill the deal, and so they expected
not even Travis Hunter.
Gator Automotive. They expected Gator Automotive to pay the rest of it off. And that didn't happen, and so I don't know. I know it was a lot of situations happened. I know John Ruiz. I think John Ruiz, he was involved. He was a booster of the program, and they paid him back $150,000. I don't know. It's crazy. It's a lot of craziness what's going on. But yeah, man. I mean, you cannot rely on a lot of these boosters to pay that much money for a single prospect. It's never. I don't think that's ever happened before in the history of college football, where you're paying
so
much money Like you can't. I don't even know why you even made that promise to say we can pay you $13 million and we can pay you $5 million straight up. Like, why?
Seriously, dude. I mean, I think the closest thing to what was beneficial. I mean, maybe there's some other stuff that I'm not aware of. I think that's why they made such a big deal of the Reggie Bush stuff, a little bit. But Reggie Bush was in college already. That's something to be said, right? He was already in college, so I guess that doesn't really count to what we're talking about now. But yeah, I just don't see it, and it sucks because I do think this taints the program. I think right now, like even if Napier has Napier's basically, you just went from you needing to go like 500, maybe make a bowl game, and you okay, everyone feels real good with your schedule, to like you gotta go a little higher now. I'm not gonna say you gotta go undefeated, but now like it's really in a position where you have to win. Like you don't got a choice, because now they're gonna the university doesn't want this publicity, man. They don't want this shit. Nope. So
they're gonna use him as a scapegoat. I mean,
they will.
They said he knew about it. They said he didn't know. They said he didn't know about it. Didn't inform Rashada, and Rashada had to find this out. I think he had to find this out by himself. And then he informed his family and his agent, and then that's when they just jumped the ball on it. But yeah, I mean, he's gonna be the scapegoat of the situation if Florida goes 6 or 7 wins. And I don't particularly blame Billy Napier for the situation that they were in. Matter of fact, when he actually got there, I thought he did a really good job of bringing Florida back in terms of recruiting. Like, his first year, they ended up with the top 10 recruiting class. I forgot what the following rankings were, but they were. But again, I mean, Dan Mullen really put this team in a bad situation his last year there. Like that was they went from and remember, they were competing in the SEC championship game against us. And then as soon as all that controversy was able to kind of hit, the following year they won 4 games. It was just a terrible situation. Recruiting fell off from the face of the earth. They couldn't, Dan Mullen in that program, they could not get in terms with NIL. So a lot of those local schools like Lakeland and a lot of those local schools, that Orlando area, they couldn't do it. They couldn't, they decided that a lot of those programs decided to go elsewhere, right? Tampa Catholic, like a lot of those, they decided to go kind of elsewhere. And so I don't know. This is a very bad situation for Florida. This is a very bad situation. Unfortunately, they're gonna make Billy Napier the scapegoat of this entire thing. And so, because that schedule is brutal. That's a brutal schedule. But the expectation, like you just said, it's gonna be at least get us to 8-9 wins, like 8-9 wins, and I think his job can be safe. But I don't know if he's gonna even get that. I think 6 or 7 wins is best case scenario for Billy Napier, honestly, and I think that's gonna cost him his job.
Oh, agreed. And what sucks is, I mean, baller man, I see your comment. Napier's gone now. See, I disagree. I think it'd be detrimental. I mean, detrimental going your spring ball. You got to go in the fall ball with your head coach gone. Yeah, no, what, that would kill him even worse.
Yeah, like you just got DJ Lagway there.
Yeah, you look like you already look real bad with this. You look even worse if you do that. Even the scapegoat may be after the season, because I mean, unless, like I said, unless God is on his side, and I'm a big faith guy. I tell you what, man, I really believe in God 100%. And if God's on Napier's side for this schedule coming up and what he's about to deal with going into the season, if he can pull some magic, some blessings down from the heavens into this schedule and be all right, I really do think that's the only thing that could save him in the long run. But I mean, what we were just talking about, Jay, is that level where it goes was maybe here. Now that has been raised here of how many wins you need to get to be safe. And that's a bummer, because I think he is on track to turn it around. It's taking its sweet time because of we've seen drama wise, and like you said, I don't think Dan Mullen left it in the greatest of pieces.
Yeah, it was terrible. It was a very, very terrible situation, and sucks because Billy Napier's actually been a very good recruiter. He's actually put up constant staffs that's really, really good in recruiting. They just can't, they just can't put the production on the field, and so, man, it sucks. That's all I'm gonna say. Like it sucks. Like you just got a great recruiting class. You got DJ, which How much did they pay DJ Lagway? I think that's a question, right? Because he's a higher ranking player than Jaden Rashada. It's like if you offered him that much money, how much did you offer Jaden Lagway to come in there and potentially be a day one starter?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I hear you on that, man. Like that's an interesting point, right? And it will be interesting to see too, maybe how this right now, because it's going to have negative play onto recruiting. Let's be straight here.
Yeah, it is.
Like the way this plays in recruiting, and I know a lot of you guys want to talk about that. Actually, I'm going to bring up a comment that Matt, you asked earlier. I did see it, and I want to bring it up right now for you, Matt. And that comment is, do you think these 2026 early commitments ever see the field for Bama, or do they switch commitments 4 times before 2026? 4 times, it's a lot. But actually, is it? Man, maybe not. Maybe it's not a lot nowadays. Here's the thing. I think that with what we just saw with our 2 commits, because I believe we have 2, our cornerbacks,
yeah, I think
Gordon and Barney. Okay. I do not think this, I think they are perfect. I think they have built a really strong relationship with Mo Linguist and Colin Hitchler. I do think these guys, we've been asking over and over again, are we going to see corners and safeties, especially in this even 2025 class? And we haven't seen that. And I think there's a little bit more time and trust that has to be built into some of those relationships because of these position groups, and because like you are literally developing that single person, right, to get to the NFL, because in their minds that's where they want to go. And it's not like Mo Linguist doesn't have that background. I mean, shoot, he was coaching at Dallas when Dallas had the top 10 pass defense, I believe. But at that time frame, though, I think Mo has also bounced a lot, and I've talked about this before. I think he's constantly moved. And so it's like Corey Raymond, for example, has been in place for a while at different in his situations, right? Like Corey Raymond, wasn't he already at LSU before he came back? Jay, do you remember that? I believe he's already at LSU before he came back, before Kelly brought him back. But he
was at Florida. He was at LSU, then he went to Florida, and now he's back at LSU.
Yeah, and he's kind of one of those guys who's kind of like a legendary. He's older. He's like kind of legendary.
Better than anybody.
100, man.
He knows that state in and out.
Yeah, and he's a legend. I mean, he's put a lot of dudes into the pros that people know about and are relevant. So sometimes that ends up being that's advantage, right? It's the same thing with USC and the D-line coach they got, who obviously Aaron Donald's D-line coach. So look what it did for them and how fast it helped in their recruiting for D linemen. So I think it takes a minute for these guys to build that relationship 100%. And they will, man. They'll get there. Lynn, how you doing, man? How you doing, Lynn? I got to get in touch with you, my friend. I talked to Ty, man. I got to get in touch with you, Lynn. But good to see you in here, my friend. Good to see you in here. But what do you think on these 2026 early commits, Jay? Do you think they're solid, like they're in place, or do you think that they're going to bounce or like kind of move it back and forth?
I think they're solid for now. I mean, especially nowadays, you can never really count out the fact that these kids can decommit. I mean, because we're about a year and a half of we're almost 20. We got to get to 2025. We got to get to next year. We got to get to the following year in order for that December signing period, in order for these kids to kind of stay here. So I mean, we see this all the time. Kids, they make the early commitments. They may stick for a while, and then all of a sudden we get to like around January, February, that following year, and all of a sudden that's when they start to kind of make their decommitments, because maybe they're taking other visits, they're talking to other coaches. Like a lot of these kids are not shutting it down, the recruitment, right? Even though I think these 2 kids are committed, I'm not too sure if they didn't, but I'm pretty sure their commitments, it's still open to a point where they can still take official visits and coaches can still be in conversation. Again, I could be completely wrong about that. But it's really rare to see a kid say, you know what, I'm going to make this commitment, and now my entire recruiting is going to be shut down, especially in this process where you might not, especially because coaches do change every single year, especially nowadays. They will change every single year. So maybe there's a particular program that maybe recruited you that you had no interest in, until all of a sudden they might have let go of a coach and they might have hired somebody that maybe you kind of dreamt of playing for, or you had really great interest in playing for. And so you kind of open back up your recruitment in order for you to kind of take those visits and have more conversations with, with a particular coach. So never can count that out. Again, I like the players that we have here. I think they're talented pieces that we can add to the table. I think they're depth pieces. I think I've really changed my tune on recruiting over the years, to a point where now it's like I went from, okay, you know what, we got a 5 and 4 star player. This guy can immediately come there and contribute and potentially be a starter. I went from that to saying, you know what, we got a depth piece. We got somebody that we can develop, and we can watch this kid grow 2 to 3 years from now. Even in the NIL and transfer portal era, I'm still a big believer in that, because I've seen that produce more national championships compared to simply just randomly playing in their freshmen. So I'm cool with it. I'm cool with these kids, becoming depth pieces for now. Again, they're not 5-star talents. Maybe they can get there, but I'm cool with simply just getting the commitments now. Hopefully they can kind of hold it. If they do decommit, it is what it is. But I think the good part is, I think we're going to be in a position, thanks to the 25 class, that even if we lose these 2 players, I don't think it's going to be a huge loss for the program. I think that's why it's kind of like a teaser. It's a little teaser, a little trailer in terms of what 2026 recruitment could be like.
Yeah, man, that's a good way of putting it. I don't put a lot into, I guess, like my focus right now is 25. Right now, they're recruiting for the future. Don't get me wrong; they're building those relationships, and that's the whole thing. And Killtack 9, we appreciate you for this $20 super chat. All I care about is more 5 stars, O linemen, and D linemen, and I think that's coming. I do, man. I do think that's coming. I think with the 5 stars, what you're going to want to see, and what I think they're waiting to see, is what it looks like. What's the new product look like from the coaching staff, and what they put on the field come game time. Here's the deal. This is exactly why I've said what I have said when we've come down to these arguments. Who would you not want to lose to? And to be honest with you, I would rather take the loss at Wisconsin, right? If that were to be the case, if I have to pick one loss, I take a loss at Wisconsin, and I clean the SEC. But number one, I don't want to lose to Georgia. I don't want to lose to LSU, and I don't want to lose to Auburn. I want to keep my in-states. I want to have a stronghold on Georgia, and I want to keep LSU, Louisiana by the balls. You know what I mean? Like, when it comes to recruiting,
you want to make that impression to not just your in-state talent. You want to make that impression to out-of-state, saying, just because Nick Saban left doesn't mean that we're not going to be juggernauts, and doesn't mean that we can produce talent and send you off to the league. I mean, clearly we can do that based off the scoreboard.
Yeah, and that's, for me, that's where my thought process is. If I'm talking about wins and losses, I'm looking at like this future of recruiting, but also I'm looking at, how do I finish strong? Like, if I'm going to look at this from a strategic standpoint, right, of how I go after these recruits. Well, how I do it going forward, I'm going to continue to build these relationships. I'm going to continue to stay in touch. They're doing that even with guys who have already committed, unless those commits are saying, hey, I don't want any further contact from anybody. I get that, but they're doing a great job of keeping those relationships, building them, continuing to build them. And now when those kids get to see what product is on the field, how exciting it is, they want to see the energy. Like, imagine you're watching these Bama games and you're seeing 40, 50 points being put up on good teams. And this defense shows up and plays, and they see this energy. And you've seen it through the years with Saban, right? We remember these years. That is that point of where these kids start to say, oh my God, it's like this magnet, right? It sucks you in, because you can't stop just feeling the energy through the TV. And I think that's the key, is to put that product on the field, right? And that's what gets everyone even more excited. It's the excitement's there, but right now it's like that nervous butterfly excitement. Like, they're, oh yeah, I feel good about this. Like, I'm hyped, I'm ready. And some guys are trusting their instincts and saying, yeah, I know where these guys are going. We see that with Gordon's commit. We see that with Barney's commit from the 26 class, right? And I'm happy with those commits. I think our in-state dude with, I think it's Barney, right? Is the in-state, or is it Gordon who's Jackson? Which one's Jackson, Alabama?
I think, let me take a look right here. So Gordon is the in-state.
Okay, Gordon's in-state. So I feel like I think Gordon's staying. I don't think you're going to see him leave. I think a lot of people are going to go after Barney because he's already ranked really high. You watch his film; he's a stud. He's going to be a really good cornerback. I also just was seeing that it sounded like Luke Metz got that Georgia offer there, so Georgia's starting to come after Luke Metz. So they're all starting to play this game. Georgia's playing a unique tactical game in recruiting right now. You saw what they did at their weekend with those official visits, Coach Jay. They brought in everybody who they could who was a 5-star, put them all in position groups, getting them all hyped and like, look, this is what you guys could be if you come in together. It's a smart little move there. I see what you're doing, Georgia. But if you don't win, then the move doesn't mean anything. What? You just repeat what you've been doing. That's why, for me, that game on the calendar, that is big circle, highlighted, starred, whatever you want to do, is that Georgia game from the standpoint of how it affects recruiting. I'm not going to say we're Texas, right? I know Texas is a huge, that's a huge recruiting state as well. And I'm not trying to say no to Texas, but I think if you can lock in your in-states, your Georgia and your Louisiana, by beating who we need to beat there, Texas is going to come. We've seen that because Texas guys, they don't necessarily just stay home.
Yeah, they will recruit out.
Yeah, they wander. You know what I'm saying? So I'm excited. I mean, from that standpoint. So answer your question. Hopefully that answers it. Who was that? Matt you asked? Yeah. So hopefully that answers a little bit of your question. And Kiltack, also with you, hopefully that answers like when we'll start seeing these 5-stars. I agree. I'm a big D-line and offensive line guy myself. I have a lot of love there, man. And it's the game's won in the trenches. Do you know what? Look at great teams. That's what they got, man. That's what they got. So I'm all about that. But, we'll see where it goes. I'm excited to see how the recruiting goes. But again, I'm excited for the season too. That's for sure. You got anything, Coach Jay?
No, I'm excited for the season too, man. I'm very, very excited to see how everything's gonna play out, man. I'm very, very excited to see how this thing's gonna play out. I'm more curious. Again, we talk about this, whenever we get the chance. Yeah. I'm just curious how the hell this playoff thing is going to work out. I'm very curious. to see how this thing works out.
Man. Me too.
We circled that Georgia game on that schedule, but it's kind of like we might play that. It's a possibility we could play that team 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like, yes, Bama beat, let's say Bama beats Georgia twice. They beat them once in the regular season. They beat them in the SEC championship game. We get to the playoffs. Does Georgia – well – signing day is done in December, right? Of course, you got the second period in February. So I guess, from a recruiting standpoint, that does really significantly help you out. But in terms of at least keeping the reputation of Georgia, I mean, ultimately what matters is to win a national championship. If Georgia beats us in the playoffs, it doesn't matter how many times we beat them in the regular season. I mean, they will have the last laugh. They'll have the bragging right. So
that's a true fact. That's a great point.
It's, man, like this is my biggest question is, what did you do with conference championship games? Because the loser doesn't get the bye. The loser still has to play that first round.
Yeah.
I'm very curious of how this playoff format is going to work, especially because you're doing this during finals.
Uh-huh.
You're literally doing this during finals. The Senior Bowl is literally the national championship is on the 23rd. The Senior Bowl is literally in between those weeks. So I don't know, like this entire format situation, you got all-star games going on in the middle of January. You got finals, which are going to be happening around that time period. Classes, normally don't really open up. I mean, some do in late January to February.
Yeah, it depends.
I don't know. Like I'm curious to see how this thing even works. And how that's just going to affect these students in a way.
That too. But you know what point you just made that, I didn't think about was like with these conference championships, right? Like truthfully, okay, you get we've added some value back to them from the standpoint that you get a bye, right? So you get the first week bye in the playoffs. But really how much value is there if we say, okay, but even though we just won this, kicked your ass in the conference championship, now you get to go play some weak team week 1, and then we got to see you again. You see what I'm saying? Like with these conference, like that's the hard part, because if we got these top, I mean, we really saw, you could have really broken it down with this last season in the rankings, right? In your top, was it 12? It's 12 team playoff. So, I mean, seriously, I mean, you look at the other 7 teams, and it's 4, right? So I guess you'd say 8 teams. But you look at the other 8 teams, you know, now you're like, okay, who gets those spots? How do you continue to make this competitive? Or do we have, instead of one Florida State situation, do we have multiple Florida State situations where all these teams feel like they're fairly unranked and not getting a chance because of levels of competition or what they bring? And again, do ratings play that factor, right? Because, I mean, Jason brought this up when we were at Around the Table Sports with Ty, and Jason's over at Hall of Fame College Football.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Oklahoma.
Yeah, baby. He was live streaming tonight, man. Jason's a great dude. You get a chance to check out his content. They do a really good job. So, but I'll tell you, he was kind of bringing the same point up, is like with all of this, right, and all these different. How do we continue that ratings ended up being maybe a big factor also in the fact of why Florida State wasn't chosen, because they just knew, like, whoever they're going to play, it's like the TCU all over again, kind of what Coach Sean was saying, right? A TCU situation where there's no competition. It's not a fun game to watch, you know? So will we have more situations like that?
You have more situations where you kick Georgia's ass in the SEC championship game, and then you have to play them almost a month later in the national championship game. It's not like these scenarios. It doesn't seem fair, but this is just the way it kind of is, and this is kind of the fear with college football. If Auburn has a good year, what does that make what's the significance of the Iron Bowl if they're just going to get in the playoff anyway, and then you have a chance to potentially? Again, it's not guaranteed, but
yeah,
that possibility still stands. I mean, Michigan, Ohio State, this will happen. I book it. This will happen. They will play each other, they will play each other literally back to back weeks. They will play each other in the game, that, as they call it, and then they'll play each other in the conference championship, and then they might play each other potentially for the playoff spot. That's a possibility that could happen. And so this is kind of the fear, and I always kind of talk about this, is you have in a way decreased the significance of the regular season. Right now, of course, these games they're going to matter, of course, because you want to try to get the bye. But ultimately, there's 12 teams out of 129 or 130 FBS schools that are trying to get in. That's not going to be an easy task. And there's always going to be a school that's going to feel left out, that feels like they deserve a shot to get in. It's going to happen, even if they can make this 32 teams. It's always going to really happen. But you have, you look at these big time matchups or upsets, like that 4th and 31 Gravedigger throw. I mean, that game meant so much. Dude. Whoa. Because if we lost that game, it's over. Our season's over. And to convert that with less than 10 seconds left on the clock to save our season and put us in a position to make it to a conference championship game where we still had to win, otherwise we would not in the playoff. That meant a lot. You look at kick six. Why was kick six so important? Was because that determined who was going to play for the SEC. Whoever lost that game, even though Auburn had a fantastic season, they had 1 loss. We had 0 losses. Our season was over if we lost that game, which we did. That's why that game was so important. Like the Michigan Ohio State games, what's happened over the last 4 years, where literally Ohio State, they've been good enough to get in. And
impactful, man, very impactful.
Yeah, I mean, literally, it determines who's going to get in the playoffs. So you have destroyed that feeling. That's over now. Mm-hmm. So I kind of wonder, from a matchup perspective, why would you schedule a big time matchup in the early game of the season when you're almost guaranteed, if you're in the Big Ten or in the SEC, you're guaranteed to go. So I think this is going to impact scheduling. I think that these championship games are optional. You don't have to play in these championship games. And a lot of people know about that. You don't have to play. These are optional games. They just decide to play in it because of the significance and the importance, and these have been factors for you to get. It's an incentive drive based. That's what the game is based on, and so I wonder if more teams are going to say, you know what, we're going to take the strategy of not playing, and we'll take our chances of saying, you know what, we'll just take the first round. We'll just take the first round bye. We'll just take not the first round bye, but we will take the first round set, because either we got a break anyway. I mean, we don't. I mean, after the season's over, we don't have to play that following week. We get a break. We get a 3 or 4 week break.
So you're saying if they choose not to play, right? Like, do they forfeit? Are you saying?
Oh no, it won't count. It won't count as a loss. Nothing.
Whoa. So one team, or do both teams have to choose not to play?
It's just one. Like Georgia last year, if they wanted, they didn't have to play in the game. These games are optional. They're just incentive based, but no, they're not requirements. They're not like the regular season. You don't have to play in these games.
Interesting. I think just from a money standpoint, probably.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of money. It's a crazy.
Yeah, I think that's the money aspect.
A lot of money that you're throwing away. Even if you lose, you're getting a lot of money.
Yeah, and Lynn, you make a good point on this, and I will. Hey, I've seen your guys' comments, right, about the Khalil Jacobs news, and we'll jump to that in just a second. But Lynn, I see your comment. Oops, that's not Lynn's comment. Just kidding. But Rocketown, you got a good comment too, man. Ooh. And Steven Angle, good to see you, man. I know Rocketown was giving you a shout out there, but we may see some of these rival games move to earlier in the year. Yes, that's the. I think that's where the benefit is still there, right? Yep. That makes a lot of sense. I know Washington. I think it's Washington WSU is still going to happen. The Apple Cup, right?
Yeah.
Which I know trust me, I know it's nothing compared to the Iron Bowl. Yeah, but still a great game. A lot of fun. And back in the day when both teams were really good, it was a very significant game, much like the Michigan, Ohio State, and the Iron Bowl has always been. So, yeah, I think that like Washington WSU are going to play early in the season. It will be interesting to see how many more schools go that route to play their rivals earlier in the season. It's also interesting to see some of these schools, too, their rivals aren't necessarily in the same conferences, much like Washington WSU, right? So it's only impactful towards the end goal of getting in the playoffs. Now in the SEC, that's not necessarily the case, but like Nebraska, who's Nebraska's rival? Is it Iowa or is it Colorado? I think it's Colorado, isn't it?
It's Colorado.
Yeah, so they're not in the same conference. Mm-hmm. Right. So there's another one there, I mean, it's nice that they were able to pull over Oklahoma and Texas in the SEC. So that way that rivalry impacts, it has more significance, right? Mm-hmm. With the Red River Shootout. So it goes back to being what it really is. And I love that. So that's a great point, Lynn. I mean, straight on, like that is the ideal way to keep them exciting and keep them significant. For sure. So, and now we'll pivot to that Khalil Jacobs thing. So we did see the video Kyle put out. Corey, I saw your comment. And what do y'all think about us moving on from Jacobs? I would have liked to get Jacobs, and thank you for that, Corey. Appreciate you, man. And Lynn brought this up earlier too. Lynn's been throwing it out tonight, man, and I appreciate you, Lynn, very much. Lynn said the same thing. He would have liked to get Jacobs too. Got a lot of respect for Lynn on his side. He was also a former Division I player, but for your Crimson Tide, everybody. So big shout out to him on that. But yeah, I would have liked to see Jacobs too. I would have liked the depth on it, man. Like 100%. Like he already knows the scheme. He knows what Womack's going to do. But at the same time, I still like what we got from, what we have in Alexander, what we have in Jefferson. I like our boys back there. You know what I'm saying? I really, really do, man. I like our boys. I like our freshmen. I like Dixon. I like Okoronkwo. I think that's how it's said.
Yeah, Justin.
Yeah, man. Like stud, right? Stud. So, and I think, it's funny when you break down the A game, you know what I mean? I've talked about this so many times, but they were, timeout. Kiltack gets in on this, man. Thank you for that 50 spot, Kiltack. Appreciate you, man. Go ahead, Jay. You can get this one.
All right, give me a second. Give me 1 second, guys. I got to get my contacts. concept.
I got you, Jay. I can read it if you want.
Yeah, yes, please.
Yeah, I got you, dog. That's all right. I'm the deaf one.
I'm a blind man. I'm not getting my context till like around.
You can hear and I can see. It's all good. This is why we're good partners, buddy. Rivalry games are integral to college football. College football's atmosphere is what has made all those pregame shows popular. 100. It has to stay important to keep a good product on TV. Netflix or Amazon should figure out how to have that weekend. Interesting. You guys do realize that Netflix just got in with the NFL. I don't know how I feel about all these streaming sites that you got to.
Oh my god!
Subscribe.
Package deal with like $15. I think it's like Peacock, Netflix, and some other streaming service. And I'm like, I'm not falling for this crap. You know, it's gonna be bad hell.
So disappointing.
Yeah.
Because like it takes away. Like I mean, you should be able to watch football for free. Like if you're at home, you should be able to enjoy it. The game is made for the enjoyment of the fans. You should be able to enjoy it for free. Like getting into all these streaming services. I mean, what about the people who can't afford that? That's not fair, man. That's not cool. Like it, and that's a lot of dough you're throwing out, man, for people at times when you got like 10 different streaming services. You know what I mean? Like,
Coach, I would just say this though, man. I ain't trying to give away the free game, but I will say this: you're gonna see the VPN, the VPN prices, they're gonna start increasing. I'm just gonna say that because these people, they for these NFL games, if you want to watch every NFL game, it costs, somebody did the math, it costs $749 if you want to watch every NFL game. Because a lot of these games, again, you look at NFL Plus, you look at Peacock, now Netflix, all these subscriptions, it's $749 if you want to watch every NFL game. So I'm telling you what people are doing, man. They're getting again, and they're getting Fire Stick, and they're gonna figure out a way to watch their football games without them paying that much money. This is what's gonna happen.
I hear you, man. That's seriously, that's kind of like the new way to roll, dude. And I mean, and that's the thing is that those rivalries are huge. They keep that tradition alive. I would be absolutely heartbroken because, honestly, one of my goals, I've never been to the Iron Bowl, right? So that's part of my bucket list. I will achieve that, whether it's this season or next season, but it's going to happen, right? I want to go see Michigan, Ohio State play, right? I want to go to Miami, Florida State. I want to go see Florida, Florida State. Now, don't get me wrong, I went through the recruiting process with a lot of these schools, but at the same time, I never went for, like Texas, Oklahoma. I want to go to that game. I never had a chance to go and experience that, right? Like I want to see USC Notre Dame. That's a big one. I would love to watch that, right? And so in person, like I've seen the atmosphere from like a recruiting aspect, but I want to see it from like a fan side where, you can sit back, enjoy it. You're not trying to take in all these things. I mean, it's been a long time, right? I mean, shoot, 2006 was my class, right? We're in 2024. It was crazy seeing that too. Like the 26 recruits have committed, and I'm like 20 years later. Whoa. Since I went through the recruiting process. Whoa, that's a long freaking time, man. So yeah, that's a big thing. But I want these rivalries to survive. And I think they need to make sure they stay significant. And Lynn had a great comment earlier regarding why they would and how to go about that, which I do think we're seeing that be the case. So appreciate you, Kiltack, again, man, 100%. Appreciate you being in here for that, man, and throwing that out there. So back real quick to Khalil Jacobs, why they move on from him. I just think that maybe it could be scholarship. It could be like they couldn't get the scheduling down for getting him in. Oh, wait, he was here this weekend, wasn't he? Maybe they're just like, hey, okay, they've had that discussion with him, said this is where we're at. Maybe it's a mutual thing. But I could just see it as like, hey, we're good depth wise. We're not going to force this. Maybe he's asking for something a little more here or there. I don't necessarily see it as a negative. It just sounds like, hey, okay, we're going to go a different direction and we're going to stick with what we got. So I mean, it'd be nice to have him, but it's not like this significant crazy loss. Right. So what do you think, Jay?
He would have been a death piece. I think that's just kind of the reality of what. Oh, and I think that's kind of why you decommitted the first time. I think if he was guaranteed a spot, I think he would have took it.
Mhm.
Especially because like Bama is one of the biggest brands in the sport, and it's one of those instances where you don't have to have a hunt like a monster statistical season in order for you to be a high drafted player.
Yeah.
This is that a lot of smaller schools have to kind of do that for you in order for you to get noticed. You don't have to do that here at Bama, and so he would have took that opportunity if he knew he was going to start. But I think
Mhm.
knowing the fact that from his position, knowing how
Yeah.
he probably was going to be a rotational piece, more of a depth piece, he's a hybrid player.
Yeah.
So kind of knowing that, it's kind of like I'm guaranteed a starting spot at South Alabama, right? At least right now, I think I'm guaranteed a starting spot. Does my situation in Alabama improve? Compared to me being at South Alabama, and I think again, you kind of weigh on that and saying, you know what, I like Kane Womack because Womack put me in a great position, and I'm
Mhm.
comfortable with him. But at the end of the day, this is not. I'm not going to come here to be a backup, right? I'm going to come here to compete, and I'm going to see if I can try to get that starting job. And I think knowing who the players were that were going to be in front of him, and the fact that he probably was going to have to climb the depth chart, knowing that he was going to be, I think, as a fifth year guy. Yeah, I mean, he's looked into Bama multiple times. He's took his visits, I believe. He knows Womack, but at the end of the day, you got to make the best decision for you in terms of how can I get to the league. And so I think that ultimately, Bama just wasn't the choice for him.
Yeah, man. And Sweet Home Bama, what's up, dog? I see you in here. We were just talking about Billy Napier here to start the show, my friend. But
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
no, I think you're spot on, man. I think he's a depth piece, and there's some good comments in here. Like some of these guys like really mess up their portal landing. Man, like seriously, you kind of if you're gonna do this portal thing, like you gotta have a plan. You can't just go in and wing it unless I mean,
what's crazy, real quick, Jake?
yeah, yeah. Hit me.
We're third. I didn't even know about this. We're third in the transfer portal rankings.
I could see that. That makes sense to me. I didn't know that though. I'm glad
Yeah,
you.
I mean, knowing everybody else was, I thought we were like 12th or 13th. We're actually third.
Yeah, that makes sense though. I could see that. You look at the guys we brought in. Even not everyone was all stoked with what we got in spring. I was. I think. I know. I discussed it a little bit recently, but with King Mac, I think he's going to compete for time, man. It's just a matter of where does he fit best? Have you got to watch anything on Mac? Have you seen him play?
King Mac.
Yeah.
I know. I've watched I've watched him at St. Thomas. I watched some of his film at St. Thomas. But I didn't watch because at Penn State he didn't really do that much. He was
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
he's
he
young.
was. He was. I mean, again, St. Thomas, incredible film. He has really, really good film. But no, yeah, he just didn't really do that much at Penn State.
No, I mean, yeah, he's what redshirt freshman. Did he red
Mhm.
he redshirt this last year? So I mean, he has a lot of time. I think he competes for time, man. I think you're going to see him
Yeah,
pushing
he's
for some
got the
time.
skill set.
I think another guy like people maybe don't realize who will come in and be very aggressive is going to be like Howard. I think like Cam Howard. Like he is and he's built too, man. He's coming in to try and like smack somebody. I love that dude. I like Cam Howard has that that like dog mentality. Like he's like everyone overlooked me, and I'm gonna come take your head off. And I love that. Like that guy's a beast. So I love what we got in the portal. But I was looking at something because when we brought this up about our linebackers and not getting Jacobs, we do look at like from the recruiting class standpoint, and even looking, um, you know, yeah, nah, man. Hey, Lynn's on fire tonight with these comments, man. A lot of you guys are. I love it. By us not taking Jacobs tells me that we're going to be playing Malachi Moore at the line of scrimmage and not in the back end. So I agree with that. I think we're going to see Nicole. What's up, girl? I think we do. I think we see Malachi at that Husky position, which makes
Yeah,
sense because he played star.
yeah, because
So
I don't want him to play that. No, I can't see him play as a free. I can't do it. Can't do it.
nah,
He
man.
is a line of scrimmage. He is on that line of scrimmage. He's great in run support. He's more of a box guy. That's where I
Yeah,
want him.
yeah, yeah. And then we have Keon Sab at the free. And then I think we'll see if Red continues to do what he's doing. Impressive. I'm extremely impressed with Red Morgan. You know what I mean? Like being able to break in pretty quickly in spring ball. I mean, there's a lot to say about that, man. And Lance, whose coverage scares you, my friend? Are you talking about Red? Which one are you talking about? Talking about Malachi? You said this cover scares me. You got to throw a name with that one. I can't. There's three of them there, but just going roll.
I think it might have been Malachi.
I don't know. I think he's maybe from what you've seen in the past out with more. I think what maybe you've seen in the past again, but can go into so deep on this, and I'm not going to do it because we are here about to close out here in a few minutes, but for the evening. But I will say with Malachi, I think you look at Saban's match coverage, like especially with like the cover 7 in the rules within cover 7. That it's the where I will tell you the player whose those rules really pertain to the most, and you got a lot to remember, is that star position. It's a tough position to remember and break down the rules. Don't get me wrong, once you get the hang of it, you can make some killer plays because the rules really fit you. And those rules, we're not saying they're not similar. I think there's a little more simplicity to them within this defense that Womack runs. Again, this 3-4 nickel. After listening, I've kind of looked over so much just because you guys had so many questions about this defense and the concerns, right? But I'll tell you, the thing that you run into with this is I went and I looked at George Teague and what he had to say about the 4-2-5. He has some really good info on the 4-2-5 and how basically it's just a 3-4 nickel. He doesn't even like calling it a 4-2-5. But all of these different things, right? I think those rules are really tough on the star. I think you're going to see Malachi kind of maturity and then loosen up a little bit with this defense, and those rules aren't as complicated for him now at the Husky. So that's my take on that one. You know what I'm saying, Coach Jay?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Malachi Moore. I think we take a look at what he did last year, especially under the Saban defense, and we take a look at those moments where he lost, especially when he was in a lot of man cover situations where he didn't really have any help, and he got beat. I think you look at the Michigan game, was kind of one of those situations against Rome, where it's kind of like that kind of summarizes. It's not the full picture, but from a fan perspective, that kind of summarizes like, yeah, Malachi Moore, again, he's a playmaker. He's very, very instinctive. He's great around the ball, but in terms of just, mano a mano, can he stick, right? Is he one of those guys that can stick with one of these these quick footed receivers? And he's going against slots or he's going against number 2 guys. And he's not, again, he's not, from a man coverage standpoint, not the best. Now that's not all on him. I think it's more scheme dependent, if anything. Not to mention, again, he does a lot of the situations. He doesn't have help, and I think he's one of those players that I think he plays a lot better if he does have help. If he does kind of have that help over the top, or if bracket coverage happens, I think he's one of those players that can take full advantage of that.
Yeah.
So it's just about putting him in the best possible in just the natural position, because that freshman year that he had, where he played at that star position, and he had 4 picks before his injury. You look at, and again, he wasn't in a lot of situations where he was left on that island, right? He was in a lot of situations where it was always help around him, to a point where he had limited responsibility, and he took full advantage of those opportunities. I think for what we've seen from him over the last 3 years was that his responsibility has grown way more. And so I thought last year was fantastic. I thought last year was a much more fantastic year. I thought he got back on track. But I think that for the most part, he does have his strength, and he definitely has his weaknesses. And it's all about, again, Womack and it's all about Womack, Linguist, and and Hischler. It's just about putting him in the right possible situations and taking full advantage of those strengths, because there's a lot of them that he has.
Yeah, and to give you guys just a quick overview, real fast. Think about it this way: your eye discipline in that cover 7. like Nick Saban's famous
Mhm.
defense, your eye discipline has to be on point because you're rerouting two based on what he does. Because it's all meant to stay on top of the verticals, right? And so you're rerouting two, but your eyes need to go to one because then it determines what you do next. So just think about that. I mean, there's a lot of steps in place. That's just like that's just one rule, and that's just based on what you're facing, like alignment wise, whether it's 3x1 or 2x2. So there's a lot of little rules, and there's even more to it, and we could, man, like I said, I could go all night into this, but that's not what we're going to do because we need to get out of here shortly, within the next minute or so. But in the meantime, I do want to say, from our linebacker standpoint, real quick, and I didn't want to bring this up real fast, is I look at like the guys we grabbed from a linebacker standpoint and what we're still looking at. You have Jaden Harmon, right? Abdul Sanders. Okay. You have Miles Johnson and Luke Metz. Am I missing anybody? And I don't know if they'll play. Let me see here. If Daryl Johnson, but I think Daryl's probably going to play a Wolf, or I could potentially see Daryl playing a Husky too, because he has that body type.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll say this is like, from our linebackers, what we're already, and yeah, that's Duke. That's what I'm talking about. 5 Adam. Yeah, that's definitely Duke. With Duke, I like Duke at Husky just because how freaking athletic he is, and he fits his body mold is like perfect for it. But that's where my thought process would be with him, is like the Husky. But I'll say this is, and we're also still in the mix with like Ty Jackson, number 1 linebacker in the nation. He would be a great grab. And you bring that in, you have that depth coming in from who we've had committed. Granted, we're not inked on paper yet, right? But I feel good about it. I like it. And I'm going to let Coach Jay answer this last super chat, but I do feel good about our linebacker room, 100%. Real fast, we got another super chat by Keeltack, man. And Coach Jay, what do you think, man? Who won the beef, Drake or Kendrick?
Oh, Kendrick.
Okay.
And listen, I'm just gonna say this. I'm just gonna say this for one reason only. Kendrick has the most popular song that's being played still to this day. Like that beat goes hard. That beat's being played in clubs. Everyone's screaming Ovi ho. Everybody's dancing to it. Like it's like more people are making fun of Drake now than they've ever done before. And I think it doesn't matter. Again, Drake had some really nice responses. I think his last diss, I think a lot of Drake fans would think that that's a kill shot. But if the fans if the fans turn on you and there's more fans dissing you than your own fan base, I mean it's a wrap. That's it's. Again, do I think that this beef was like Nas, Jay-Z either, or I'll even say like Drake, Pusha T, or who else? You got 50 Cent and Ja Rule and like Tupac, Biggie. Like I don't think it's on that level. But man, I mean, when more fans are turning on Kendrick's songs, it's being played all over the place. They're singing towards it. They're saying the same discriminatory remarks towards you without them even really knowing it. You won. Yeah. So I got to give it to Kendrick.
Man, Lance, I see your comment down there. That was pretty got me a chuckle. That was pretty funny. But yeah, guys, like I feel good about what we have. I really do. I think 5 Adam, you brought up something just real quick before we get out of here. You brought up something I thought was really important. Is KD Kalen DeBoer is great at organization, but he's very good at maximizing talent. We look at everywhere he's been and what he's been able to do offensively, 100%. I think defensively, he gets what he needs to that helps him to focus and get that offense down. You know what I'm saying? Like, he can focus and make sure that offense is set in place. In the defense, he gets what he needs. I think he got something very special in Womack. I know everybody, it's hard to see right now, especially after A-Day, because you did see a lot of errors. You saw a lot of confusion still, right? I think we have to, some of our new guys, they're having to learn the system. Some of our old guys have to break some old habits from the old system. and their technique and continuing to push. I think that's going to jive. We just have to give it time. We have to give it continuously, get those reps, right? Once we see those reps put into place, once we see those guys in fall ball, I'll tell you, we're going to go in. I'm not going to say there's not going to be little bumps, but I do see that progression, and I feel like by game 4, when we have Georgia at home, we are going to be in a very sound place moving forward into SEC play, where our defense complements our offense very well. And I feel like we're going to break some damn records, everybody. That's what I feel like. Woohoo, boom, boom. Yeah, we're ready to go.
It's going to be a good year. It certainly will be a good year, man. But Coach Merrill, like I said, any last thoughts or any last thoughts before we kind of close it?
No, man. I just really appreciate you guys. I keep saying I'm going to get a freaking Twitter up, and Lynn, that's how I'll get in contact.
That's why I'm lazy, man.
Well, it's not me. I got like 3 kids, so life's always crazy. But I am going to do that right when we get off of here. I'm going to get on Twitter. I'm going to start making sure I connect with everybody again. I want to get back in touch with everybody again. Hit me up. Come chat with me. Oh yeah, and I would love, Lynn, too, man. I would love to hear your take when you get down, when you get going through like breakdowns, because I've done some of the same. So I want to see what you're seeing, man, just from player perspective. But I'll tell you right now, like, I'm gonna get back on Twitter. We'll make sure we get that up in the morning, so everybody can see with me and Ty Hayes. We will be back in the morning, the Jake and Ty morning show. And I'm guessing that's going to probably be around 9 a.m. Central Time. Coach Sean will be back tomorrow evening. I know that 100%. Oh, got you. Okay. All right. Thanks, Lynn. I'll do that then. I appreciate you, my man. But Coach Sean's going to be back tomorrow evening. He had to catch his niece's graduation. She big shout out to her, everybody. Round of applause. Make sure big shout out because she graduated college. Super big shout out. Like, that's a huge deal. Really excited for her. And we just appreciate you guys tuning in with us tonight. I know we didn't have like crazy numbers, and that's not what it's about for me. I don't need, all the people jumping in. I love it. It's cool when everyone joins in, but even when we get everybody just to come in and you guys come in and chat and say what's up to us, we appreciate that. And we love to chit chat, but yeah, so 9 a.m. I know Kyle, typically you'll see Kyle Henderson, Mr. Kyle Henderson, with Bama Football on YouTube. He's typically on at 8 a.m., 7:30, 8 a.m. Central Time. And then you have me and Ty Hayes for about 2 hours every morning, Monday through Friday, at least for sure. But we go from 9 a.m. Central Time to 11 a.m. Central Time. And then in the evenings, that's when you catch myself, Coach Jay, and Coach Sean. And we typically jump on anywhere between 5 p.m. and 6 p.m. Am I correct? Am I saying that right, Coach?
It's like,
or 7, 6, and 8 p.m.
Yeah, it's like
6 and 8 p.m. So tune in. Kyle typically throws that shout out and that schedule out in the mornings too. So when you tune in with Kyle, just listen up to what he's saying for the schedule for the day, and come join us. Come throw your questions out. Come interact. We love interacting with you guys. 100%. We appreciate all of you. Make sure as you jump out of here this evening, throw the thumbs up, rewatch the morning one if you haven't seen it. Really good. The last night's was really good, Coach Jay. You, me, and Coach Sean, we got deep into some life stuff last night. If you didn't tune in, so go rewatch that while you go to bed, because there's some really good things. Coach Sean had a lot of awesome things to say last night, and we were able to talk about some of these mindsets of the kids and what's going on, and maybe how we can better impact those around us. So, yeah, man, a lot of good stuff, man. A lot of good stuff. So we appreciate you guys 100%. And before we close this out, Coach Jay, what do you got?
Man, listen, catch me on Jant716 Twitter, Jant Sports on YouTube. I'm about to finish my LSU. I'm doing like my college football previews. I do it like every single year. So
yeah, cool.
I'm just finishing up the LSU one, and so I'm just trying to get the correct information. So, but
cool.
Yeah, I'm doing the previews. I'm doing stuff like that. I'm gonna be a lot more active. Hopefully on social media. Don't be a stranger. I mean, like I said, you need to hit me up on Twitter. I'm pretty active there. I'm mostly in spaces debating with them. It's mostly Bills talk, but I will be joining it. I think I might have to start debating with some of these other college football fans because now all of a sudden they're coming up their woodworks. It's a lot of illusion which is going on. It's a lot of Florida State and Miami fans are just coming out the woodworks, and they're on Twitter Spaces acting up. So I'm after it's been quiet in this realm, and so hopefully it should be a good summer. It should be a good summer in the Twitter Spaces. So don't, like I said, you see me on there, don't be a stranger. Definitely stop by, say hello if I'm on and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much all I got.
I love it, man. I love it. And YouTube channel name 5Adam. Is that what you're asking? 5Adam asked if it was a YouTube.
Oh, Jan Sports. Yep.
Gotcha.
So same. Yep. Perfect, Jan Sports.
Perfect. Yeah, I don't have YouTube. I'm a freelancer, everybody. So you catch me. You start catching me on a couple different people. I know I'm gonna go over and hang out with Jason at some points over at Hall of Fame College Football with Jason and the coach. I'm gonna hang out with them. We talk a little Oklahoma ball. Talk about that. I got a good Oklahoma story from being recruited too, so that's gonna be a funny one. Get over at Ty Hayes Around the Table Sports. Jump on with Coach Smook, Coach Smook Network. Jump on with Coach Sean. If you haven't followed Coach Sean's too, we put out we got a fire video out right now, guys, over at Coach Sean's, and that's JMHO Sports, and that's Coach Sean's new channel. So go follow it. Tell your friends, tell your family, go follow it. Go check out the videos. I know we're talking about doing potentially a live stream this week. We'll talk with Coach Sean because we're gonna start maybe live streaming over there.
Go live now. Yeah, every video he's got over 1,000, so he can go live now.
Yeah, we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna have some fun talking not just Alabama ball, but all college football, right? Because that's what it's fun, man. We love it, and of course, you can catch us on here. So we love you guys. We appreciate you guys tonight, and just thank you for spending your evening with us. 100%. Roll Tide, everybody. Have a great evening.
Now we have to talk about the spinning with Ladue.
That's right, baby.